PhD, and you're listening to the Tye Pod. Well, hi, everybody. It's another edition of the Tye Pod, and I'm excited today to talk to Annie Heathcote, who is a writer, disability advocate, and you also have a new book that just came out that we'll be talking about a little bit later. So I'm definitely looking forward to sharing, some of our experiences and having kind of a back and forth conversation and getting into like what you're doing with the book and everything. So it's great to have you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Tye. It's great to be on your podcast. It's super cool how we connected on Instagram over video and commented, and now we're here. So I'm happy to be a guest, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. I sure appreciate like being able to form that community, with people with disabilities of kind of all types on Instagram, and it's
Yeah.
kind of it's a really cool place, I think, to find some people that can relate to what a lot of us are going through. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I was thinking we could start out with kind of your general backstory on like your experience with disability, and I know that you have SMA type 2. So if you want to talk just a little bit about maybe three highlights or things that kind of stick out in your mind from your journey.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed when I was 13 months old. My parents thought I was really strong when I was first born, and then my grandma noticed I couldn't really hold my head up. And then they saw a bunch of doctors, didn't really get answers. Then they found a doctor that wasn't the nicest, and basically told them, your daughter's not going to make it. Go home and
Mm,
love her. She's not going to make it past infancy, let
mm.
alone adolescence. And the crazy thing is, here I am today, live alive and well, living a very full life. And so doctors can be wrong, but it's about
Sure.
like the will to live and making a plan and just seeing what God has for you. So yeah, I've done some pretty incredible things along my journey. And as far as my SMA, I'm just so proud to be a part of the disabled community, especially the SMA community. We're just like so strong in our advocacy and how we
Mm.
support each other, especially QSMA and all the work they're doing, the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and the work they're doing. Like we come together as like another family, and it's just really beautiful how that all happens.
Yeah, definitely. How was it like growing up? Like, was there a point where you kind of had that sort of self-acceptance when you realized like I can do things I'm passionate and care about, regardless of disability of any kind?
Yeah, I mean, I have four siblings, so
Mm,
they treated me like any other sibling, and
mhm,
I didn't really notice I was much different until I went to school. My kids acted really weird around me, and they didn't know how to interact at first. And thankfully, I had a good experience in school, and my class
mhm.
was really small and accepting. But even just hard experiences like going to recess and not being able to play on the playground like other kids,
Right.
literally having to imagine myself like playing on the playground and closing my eyes, and just it was just really sad that that was the reality back then. And thankfully they're building inclusive playgrounds nowadays.
Right. There are some, yeah.
Yeah, so that's changing for the better. And even when I was growing up too, there wasn't like children's books or anything on disability, so I just felt like super alone.
Hmm.
And when I was younger, I was the only disabled person in my town like that was in a wheelchair. And
Okay.
it just, for a small town, I guess that's what I was kind of known by, but I didn't realize that like what I thought was my greatest disadvantage could be my greatest advantage.
Mm,
And it's
yeah.
because I am in this wheelchair and I'm able to do so many unique things that other people can't do or weren't made to be able to do. And that's really led a lot to my purpose. Like disability doesn't take away from purpose, it just
Mm,
helps refine it.
hmm.
I think when you find your lane, your avenue of what you're meant to do in life, it really helps lets you have a full life and drives you toward the success and purpose that you're meant to have.
Right, right. I do think there's so much of life without the physical side, right? Like you can find a drive and passion and be kind of, like have a fulfilling journey, with regardless of where the disability goes. And I
Yeah.
think that we're so good at adapting to kind of our situation and kind of figuring out what works, and then like, yeah, I don't know, there's pros and cons, I feel like now of having
Yeah, for sure.
envy. Yeah.
And there's hard days too, like of course, ups and downs of life like anyone else. I will say it is hard to live in an able-bodied world, a world
Mhm.
where it's not built for you. There's attitudinal barriers, structural barriers, societal
Mhm.
barriers, and that we face a lot of those like navigating average things that are
Right.
really easy for someone else, and that is
Kind
taken
of the
for
small
granted.
things that get maybe
Yeah,
taken for granted. And yeah,
yeah,
and even it's strange, like even I had to relearn kind of that lesson, losing the ability to communicate and talk there for like,
yeah,
several weeks. And it's like you, growing up with MD, you think you don't take things for granted or that you appreciate it, but then when
right,
you
yeah.
lose it and gain it back, you really
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
like we all take things for granted. Like I have to even
yeah,
remember to appreciate that I can breathe, eat, smile,
true.
talk, like just simple things like that, the abilities that I have.
Hmm. Yeah, as far as your like career passions and things, like what has that been like? Because I know you're doing, speaking and writing now and everything, but like, how
Yeah.
did that evolve to where it is now?
Yeah, so it's interesting how God places us in certain with a certain experiences in certain places in life because growing up I was really involved with the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually like their poster child. I was the Goodwill End State ambassador and I'd like go to different events and get interviewed and meet famous people and do the telethons that they used to
Was it
have.
mostly positive experience or was it kind of some back and forth?
Well, that's the thing. It was really stretching because as a kid, I honestly didn't like it that much. I felt very forced to do it, to be honest.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but I realize now how beneficial that was, and I'm glad that I was forced to do it because it gave me a lot of the skill sets I have today, especially for my speaking career and
Yeah.
when I was Miss Wheelchair Wisconsin. And even that, the MGA, like one of their events, led me to my graphic design career because I did a photo shoot at a graphic design agency, and I was looking around, I was like, this does not seem like the normal workplace that I know. Like there was like foosball tables and it looked like a jungle gym and like just fun environment. Like everyone was
Hmm.
decorating their cubicle and I was like, yeah, what is this place? And they're like, oh, it's a graphic design agency. And I was like, graphic design, what is that? Because I
What is that?
was
Yeah.
doing art too. And I was like, I don't want to be a starving artist. So this was a way I could take the things I love, like art, technology, psychology, and marketing, and combine all those into a career. So I found it out my sophomore year of high school, what I wanted to do for college. And
Hmm.
then I did different job shadows through Department of Vocational Rehab and just some of my own connections and things like that
Hmm.
to figure out, is this really what I want to do? And asking people in the field, like, what's your day to day look like? And is this manageable? Like, what's
Hmm.
the salary? And then just kind of figuring out things of life one step at a time. And so I went to Madison College for graphic design and illustration and web and digital media design. So two
Hmm.
associate degrees. And I graduated and I thought I was gonna get an agency job. Like I was really prepared to like apply and I was looking some, but then before I knew it, I had like 24 clients come to me in my first year. Yeah, I had to
Whoa,
turn a bunch away because I just couldn't, I could only do so
that's
many.
that's quite
Yeah,
a few.
yeah, and God
Yeah.
just brought me all those people. And I think it was really because I had a niche that I didn't realize. Again, the disadvantage, which was actually my niche was disability and Christianity. And so people knew
Hmm.
that about me because I was open about who I honestly and authentically am. And
Hmm.
people like, I want her to do this design work. And
Yeah.
that was like a huge honor. And it really, I was able to do so many incredible projects and work with really cool clients. And I did that for a few years. And then that led me to my next opportunity of being Miss Wheelchair Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting how that, the journeys kind of evolve and like you maybe don't necessarily end up where you maybe plan to initially, but
Mhm.
like through kind of the experience and the journey, you almost, I don't know, you kind of go with the flow a little bit until you find exactly what fits, and then it's like, oh, this is something I could do. It's, that
Yeah.
is it fits, you uniquely and like you can sort of accentuate your strengths, I feel like that way too. Um, but that's really good to, kind of hear that how you went through that to start with. As far as like the whole Miss Wheelchair thing, like what was that like? Did you go to like in-person events to actually, go through like a full pageant and everything?
Mhm. Yeah, the story of how that came to be, I had a friend reach out to me and she's like, you should totally do this. And she's like, you're 21, right? And I was like, no, I'm not 21 yet.
No.
And so then the pandemic hit and they rebuilt the
Oh
organization.
yeah.
And so it was a few years after that. But I was like interested. I really felt like it was for me. I was like, that'd be really cool. But one and like just kind
Yeah.
of dreaming about it. And then when they asked again, like the coordinator at the time, I was like, no, I'm too busy because that was in like the heat of my graphic design business and career
So
like
everything was kind of
after
going at
college.
once.
Yeah, and I was like,
Yeah.
already so busy. I don't know. I can't do this. And then but she like didn't give up on me. She's like, you'd be really good at it. I think you should really reconsider. And I prayed about it more and I felt like it was a confirmation that I should from God. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try, right? And I just put my best forward. I said I steward opportunity well. I was obedient to
Hmm.
that. And I said, no matter what happens today, I know I did my best.
Well,
And
and I feel like modeling with the disability, I mean, and related things, like it's something that we don't get to experience, but we should, like more, I think more people would like to actually do that type of, thing. And it's like if able-bodied people want to do a pageant, then, people with disabilities should too. Like that's,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it was in the pageant, it's more about advocacy and communication and
yeah,
representing people with disabilities. Obviously, I don't speak for everyone. I like to just say that because, like, it's an honor being a voice for the voiceless, or the 20% of, like, the forgotten 20% is what I call us, because I just feel like we're left out of so many things.
true.
Like, even this month, it's Disability Pride Month, and it's hardly talked about. Brands don't use the flag colors. Like, it's really unfortunate that there isn't more advocacy on the largest minority out there, which includes
Mm,
every race, religion, all that stuff. And
true.
like, we need more people on board to help us advocate, and that
I
includes
agree.
able-bodied people.
Yeah, yeah, and I hope that, there's always that intersectionality too, that, like if you obviously the disability side, but then if, if you're a minority in another way, if you're a woman, like
Mhm.
there's you
Yeah.
start stacking these complexities together, and I mean like the stigma and limitations that are imposed by like general society, I feel like are just they can be like really suffocating, it seems
Mhm.
like. So like,
Yeah.
I'm curious with your advocacy and everything, do you see any changes for the better, more awareness, or do you feel like there's still so much that needs to be overcome?
Well, it's always a little bit of both, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
on one hand, I see improvements in certain areas, and on the other hand, I see, wow, things are really bad and they're still the
Mm,
same over here. Like, we need more education everywhere. We need everyone advocating, spreading awareness, and it really takes all of us. And
yeah.
so I ended up getting the title that day. I was Miss Wheelchair Wisconsin 2023. And
Nice.
I didn't know what that year would hold, but I just was like, you know what, God, just whatever you want to do with it. And it started out slow. I didn't have a lot of events. The organization wasn't huge. They didn't have a ton of things for me to do.
Mm, yeah.
In my marketing skills and networking things that I knew, I just started reaching out to places, and sure enough, they said yes. And I was on like live TV and doing other interviews, and people like it got the word out, and sure enough,
Yeah.
snowball effect. So by the end
Yeah.
of the year, doing interviews, speaking at schools, businesses, churches, organizations, it was a total of 52 events, and I did
Ooh,
not think I could do that. If you would have told me before, I'd be like, no way, do I have time for that?
that
It
makes
was
like
like,
I feel pain just thinking about that.
yeah, it was such a blessing though, but it was probably the hardest I've ever worked in my entire life, because I
Yeah.
understand that, that's like that was a volunteer position, it was a part-time job.
Right.
But each event, you coordinate it, then you prepare for it, then you go to the event, you do the event, and then you post about the event. So each
Yeah.
had like 5 steps. And then in the background, I was running a graphic design business, running a caregiver business, as I call it, because we all know disability is a full-time job.
Right. But it doesn't pay.
Right.
Yeah.
Or yeah. And then I was playing an adaptive sport called power soccer,
Mm-hmm.
practicing 3 hours every weekend and traveling for tournaments. And I was really involved in my church, and I was taking like a biblical counseling course. Like, I was way overdoing it, and I
So
was,
that's what I was gonna ask. Like that
yeah.
sounds like burnout to me.
Or
Like,
it was. It took me a year to recover from that. Like,
yeah.
it worked for over a year, night and day, like every day, and it was
So
so.
did you just like basically take initiative and just like sort of cancel, a lot of the things going on and like
I just did all of it. And
yeah,
eventually, when I was so burnt out the year after that, I think I cut like 90% of my commitment, so that I was so burnt out
yeah,
and I just couldn't do it. And that's okay. Like, I think we all reach our limit, and we're like, you know what,
yeah,
I should have treated myself better than that, just been,
yeah,
I am limited. I can't do everything, and that's okay. And I used to put
yeah,
all of my worth and value in like doing things or having to prove to others that I was like good enough, and that was
exactly.
healing that I had to do, and that's a lot of healing I did the year after that, and it
Yeah.
was a hard time. But I also think it's kind of a unfortunate normal thing in a disabled community, where we feel like we have to prove ourselves or like be
Or like
enough.
we have to meet the standard of someone that's
Yeah,
able-bodied.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, it's almost like they start at the starting line and you start like way back.
Mm,
Yet you're expected to catch up to them and do everything like them. And not only that, like, you have to figure out a way to adapt. So
yeah.
that's like the privilege disadvantage thing. Like, it's hard. Like, there is those things, and you just we can't do it all. And I'm
Right.
that person that wants to do it all.
Right. No, I think also things that we can control like that when we have the physical disability, like we feel like we need to compensate with, maybe like, I don't know, degrees in our jobs and keeping like a super hectic, productive lifestyle. I mean, and eventually it's just, especially with progression of some of,
Oh yeah.
the different MDs. I mean, it's like you just can't maintain that, and then accepting that and kind of
Yeah.
listening to what, your body's trying to
It,
tell you too
yeah,
is,
it's such a balance, because
yeah,
on one
yeah,
hand, we want to do the things right, and then but we are limited, strength and ability and energy wise. But
yeah.
yet I always feel like I'm running out of time, like this invisible
Right.
clock. because both, as we both know, both our disabilities are progressive. So there will be a day I
Yeah.
won't be able to move. And as hard as that is to accept, and days that I grieve that, I try every day to use the ability that I have now to make the most impact and difference for the future. I'm working for others, for God, for my future self, for the little
Hmm.
girl in the past who didn't know who the woman she would become today. Like I use
Hmm.
those are my whys. Like this is why I work so hard. And I just feel like people with disabilities have a tremendous passion for the community.
True.
Others, we have a sense of uh, humility and empathy and compassion because we understand the hard day-to-day life that so many people, like we said, take for granted.
Yeah.
And I just think there's like obviously positive, negative things with that, right? Like everything,
Right.
such a balance. Do you ever?
Yeah, yeah, balance is the perfect word, I think. And balance to me isn't like 50-50 or like there's some combination there, that you don't
Mm,
the proportionality of it's not set, right? But everybody has
yeah.
their unique balance that fits their life and what they're doing and their whole disability experience, and the day-to-day, like you don't know when the function's going to slow down or stop
Mm,
or like so I mean yeah, I just
yeah.
think that you're spot on there with the balance for sure. Um, but I wanted to shift gears just a little bit, and I remember kind of the first thing that got us in touch was the video that you posted on like hugging, and I think was it your sister or a friend that was in that
Yeah, my
video?
sister,
Yeah,
my
so like
oldest sister.
I wanted to dig into like how you feel about boundaries and like human like touch and connection, but also like there's that dynamic of you want to give permission to people like but they need to ask you too before they just assume one way or the other. So like that whole dynamic with boundaries and physical like touch. Just
Yeah.
talk a little about that maybe.
Yeah, so how that came about was I was in Florida visiting my sister and her family, and I she like gives me the best hug. She just knows how to do it well. And I was like, "Do you mind if we record a video of it? Because
Hmm.
I want to be able to show people like individually how to best hug me, and it's hard for me to explain to it and it's kind of awkward, but I could like maybe send it to friends and be like, hey, can we try doing a hug like this?" And I know
Hmm.
that's like really awkward even to begin with. Most people don't have to send a text telling people how to hug them, right? It's just so it's not verbal. It's just like an action. Like you hold your arms out. It's
Hmm.
universal. What does that mean? You want a hug, and it's you don't have to like voice it. But I feel like especially with us with a disability, we
Hmm.
learn to advocate, and we have to advocate a whole lot more because we have to voice those unsaid things.
That's what I was gonna say too, is like the physical strength when we can't reach out and hug or initiate anything. Well, like how do you do that? How do you go about that dynamic?
Yeah. So after that, I was just planning on showing it to a few people, and
Mm.
I was like, I felt like, but it might be a good video to share, but I kind of didn't want to share because it was really vulnerable and it showed my weakness, like my physical weakness.
Right.
And it's kind of dumb because I was like, it's pretty obvious that I'm physically weak, but it felt like that was a whole nother level for me of showing it.
Right.
And I said it to my sister and I was like, hey, do you mind if I post this video? And this is what I'm thinking the caption would be, advocating about why it's important to give people with disabilities a hug and how to. And I was honestly hoping that she'd say no, because then I'd be like, then
Oh,
I'm
really?
kind of an out. But she said, yeah, that was fine. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh no, now I have to post it. And it was just late one day and I was like meeting a friend after and I was like, oh, I'll just like throw this up.
Hmm.
Well, then it like took off. It was my first viral video on my terms because it has over
Yeah.
100,000 views now. But it like the first less than 24 hours, like the next morning, it had like 10,000 views and a bunch of likes and like a bunch of I feel like my first like comments that were like positive and like people really it really meant a lot to people and especially the comment from you and like it meant a lot to me that it meant so much to others that I felt like
Yeah.
this taboo topic that wasn't ever addressed and it was
Did
shown
you get any kind of like
so
negative
many
or
people felt it.
ableistic, like were
No,
there any
none.
negatives?
I got
None? Okay.
no hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it meant so much to people, and then people told their stories. I'm like, oh, I never knew I could hug someone like that, or thank you so
Mm.
much for sharing this because I never knew how to talk about it. And isn't
Yeah.
that the way, we all advocate in the different experiences that we have, and that had touched so many lives, and it was just a blessing to know how much it meant to people and my vulnerability to share that and how it touched the lives of so many.
Yeah. Yeah. That vulnerability factor I know is something that a lot of us go through and like what do we feel comfortable sharing or not sharing, and
Mhm.
that's a tricky thing to make yourself comfortable, but sometimes those I guess kind of raw moments or something are some of the better
That's a good way to
ones.
put it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How about the other like direction? Have there been cases where you had to maybe try to push back against unwanted like hugging or shoulder touching or like your joystick with your chair? Any kind of boundaries you had to enforce on that?
Well, just know it's not always going to be perfect. It's more about
Mhm.
the hug itself. Like, did they care enough to try? Did they give you a hug? Like it's I have a lot of friends that give me a hug and I appreciate that. When years ago, I had this so much hurt surrounding hugging and that I had to really just start advocating and speaking up and letting people know, hey, I would like a hug too, because
Mhm.
I go in these friend circles or at events and stuff and like everyone else would get a hug, but then they look at me kind of awkward and they're like, do I
Like
give
no contact,
yeah,
basically.
they're like, I don't know what to do, and it was just awkward, and so I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable, so I wouldn't say
Yeah.
anything. And finally, I just had to like tell people when I one on one, I was like, hey, I really like hugs too. Can I please have one?
Well,
And
and that assumption too, maybe that did you feel like they were worried about hurting you
oh
or
yeah,
like
I mean, there's
yeah.
that too. I mean, there's reasons why they feel uncomfortable. They don't know,
Yeah.
they don't want to hurt you, they don't want to offend you, like, and so there's more negatives keeping them back from doing something so positive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean like I feel like all it really takes is an awareness to know that we want that human connection too,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a thing that everybody shares, I
And
think, a lot.
it
But
is more awkward, and it's the way
yeah.
you just have to break past that barrier and be like, this is how I would like to hug and do it this
Yeah.
way. Like there's multiple ways and like people it's kind of funny. My friends will give me a hug, they're like, was that good? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just be
How
like
did
that.
how did your family and like your sister, how did they respond to that going kind of viral the way it did?
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of crazy. Like we didn't expect that. And
Mhm.
I'm like, Rose is doing so well. And she's like, yeah, my husband said that it got a bunch of likes, so it must have got a bunch of
Mm.
views. And yeah, it's like over 3,000 likes right now, and it's
And I
still.
mean that might not have even been, I mean, like no expectation that it was going to blow up like that
I thought I
amount. It's
wasn't
just
gonna perform well. Like I was like, oh, I'm not
mm,
gonna like this. They're gonna think it's weird.
yeah, yeah. What about so your sisters, do they have children at all, or like are you an aunt to any?
Yeah, they both
Uh,
have kids. One has three boys and one has two girls. And the one in the hugging video has two girls. And I love all the nieces and nephews that I
yeah.
have, and they're just so good with my wheelchair, and they love
Well, that's
running.
what I was going to ask is like your approach
Yeah,
to it, did they ever try to press your joystick or, do anything like that that was dangerous?
yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there hasn't been trouble with that. We let them know early on, like no touch, like
Yeah.
only Aunt Annie touches this, like it's dangerous. And then, but they say, okay, now you can go here or here, like right on. And like my older nephew, he actually like we make sure that he asks if he can have a ride, and then if I say yes, then he'll actually like, take my feet off the foot pedal for me, and then flip
Oh,
them.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, like yeah, he's so gentle about it, and then he'll put it back when he's done. Like it's very like a respectful process, and it's like
Yeah.
a really cool connection that he's like, I would not ride. And I was like, where? He's like, oh, over the house. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
we just like play chase and hide and seek, but that's a way for me to like connect with him, and
Yeah.
even when he was a little baby, like 1 years old, he was like riding on my chair, and then the other
Yeah.
ones see that, and then they do it, and then they ride on the back of my chair. They sit on my lap. I've had like four kids on my chair at one time
Whoa. That's
somehow.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can't really
Yeah.
see where I'm going, but we make it through.
Do they are there any like areas like joints or anything that are super sensitive to touch or like any kind of things you have to guard against on
No,
that?
thankfully they're pretty light, and
Yeah.
I can handle it.
I
So
for some reason I've always had this extreme joint sensitivity like on the insides of my both
mm,
knees, and it's just like how do you communicate? Like you don't want them to not want to be around you or be comfortable, but at the same time you're like, well, you can't really hit your uncle there because that's gonna
yeah.
cause some pain. So it's like it's an interesting
Yeah, they
journey
were,
there.
and they just, yeah, it's interesting because it's their norm for me to be in a wheelchair. Like one
Yeah.
time, I was not in my wheelchair. I can't remember why. Probably just sitting somewhere else, and he's like, "Annie, get back in your wheelchair! Like, get back!" Like he's like, "Why are you out of your wheelchair? This is not
Yeah.
good. You have to go in there. That's where you live." Like he associates me with the wheelchair, and I don't know, it's kind of cool, but like, yeah, he just that's their norm. But they do eventually ask, like, "Aunt Annie, why can't you walk?" And it's like
Mm.
so sad. And I'm just like, because I'm not as strong as you. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's good enough for them. And I'm like, show me your muscles, and they like lift up their arms and show me their muscles. It's like that's good enough for them right now.
As some of them have gotten older, like are you starting to share a little more detail kind of about things
They're
or
still pretty young
still
yet.
pretty
Like
young?
this is 5, so
Oh, okay. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
But
still a little
eventually
young.
I'm prepared for it, and who knows, maybe the girls one day will be my caregivers. Who
Do
knows?
you feel like I guess them growing up and being around you as someone with a wheelchair and disability, I always feel like when kids grow up with that they're able to spread that, to people around them as they like get older and go to their communities and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, I think it's good, especially like even my siblings do that, and like um,
Yeah,
I hope the kids, I leave a good amount of impact on them that they say, "Oh, my aunt was in a wheelchair, and this is what it was like," and I hope they volunteer, and I hope they help people with disabilities and advocate and things like
yeah.
that really make a difference just from living a life together.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm really, happy to hear that they're responding and, that kind of interaction is there because again, it shows kind of that human side, I think, of us. We want to be able to be around younger family members too and not having to be afraid of, the disability and wheelchair. So that's good to hear. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to transition now to your book a little bit. So it's called Still We Rise, right? And it was kind of a collaborative effort with you and other authors. Like, what was that whole kind of experience like?
Yeah, so it's called Still We Rise, Stories of Triumph Over Disabilities and Strength of Empowerment. I know the subtitle's a little long, so I just usually tell people Still We Rise.
Yeah.
And I got reached out to the end of February by a project manager. I had friended him on Facebook. Didn't really know much of what he did, but he's an accomplished author himself. And he's like, "Hey, would you like to be a part of this collaboration book? I'm bringing together this group of authors with disabilities. Some of us have wrote before, some of us haven't. But yeah, it was really neat to meet everyone from all over across the world, different places, and then some people like lived in multiple places, so they have those experiences. And we each told our personal life stories
Mhm.
in about 4,500 words, so like 14 pages each. And yeah, it's just really neat to be a part of something so special and like impactful. And we all have different like experiences, obviously, some different disabilities and how we grew up and viewed things and the challenges that we faced and kind of being like, why me? And just those normal life experiences that we all can relate to, and then showing how we overcame those challenges and how we live an abundant life with having a disability. So yeah.
What are some of the different disabilities of the authors that were in that book?
Yeah, so most of them were paralysis at different
Okay.
ages, for whether, it was a car accident or gunshot wound, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like spina bifida, and then some had like viruses that made
Mm.
them have a stroke or paralyzed or things like that.
Right,
And then
right.
I had a genetic disorder. I have a genetic disorder, SMA. And then I was really interested by this. One even had a temporary disability where she like
Okay.
broke, her leg or back or something. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, oh, that's really interesting how like even that was in there. Like and that is so true too, how anyone can join the disabled community at any time.
And
And
in like any capacity, right? Like, I mean, it's
yeah,
a
and even
spectrum of,
temporary or
yeah,
permanently. So
yeah.
there's
Well, I'm
all
glad to
this.
hear that there's, I mean, that at least a good amount of diversity, it sounds like in that book. And
Yeah.
I'm always interested to see, because my mission with even the podcast is like trying to bring in, there's so many categories and so many groups that
Mhm.
are part of the disability space, even, I mean, caregivers, like family, so I feel like the more we can bring that diversity forward within disability, I think it's going to create, bigger change, or I hope it does at least. So, it's,
Yeah.
that sounds like a good project though. That's really cool. Did you get to meet any of the other authors in person virtually? What was that kind of like?
Yeah, we have a Facebook group chat and we talked and met over there, and we got to have a lot of input on the book actually too. So like I helped out somewhat with the cover design, and we came up with the title and subtitle, and yeah, just like the color of the book and just
Yeah,
different things where like we each had a voice, and that was really special for it to not for the project manager to not be like, oh, this is how it's going to
yeah,
be on the
yeah.
box. He was actually super kind and receptive and transparent about everything. And when I first got that message, I was like, "Can I trust this? Is it legit?"
Mhm.
But then, like, he was just an authentic, great person. That I was like, "Okay, this is real. This is happening."
Well,
I
and
don't.
you probably had quite a few meetings like beforehand, right? To just kind of get to know why he was wanting to do and the sincerity behind it, maybe. And
Yeah, I somewhat. It was mostly just
yeah,
group
yeah.
chat. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, it was a lot of trust on everyone's part, and
Yeah,
um, I didn't know what it was gonna be, but I was just like, I'm gonna just try and see how it turns out. And it's
yeah,
been really cool because now I have something to offer people when I do my speaking events and stuff. When they want to get in touch with me more, that's something I can give.
yeah. And you've probably done like a little bit of touring. I think you mentioned a few that
Mhm.
you've been to. Like, what was that like as far as like reception from the public with the book?
Yeah. So last week I had an author talk, and I was in my hometown at the library, and just this little library. And when I got there, they set out a few chairs, and I was like, okay, like we'll see who shows up. And sure enough, it was a packed house. Like added a ton more chairs. There wasn't enough for everyone. Like it was just super cool. I got
Mhm.
everyone there that like needed to hear that story and relate it to their own life and own challenges and how to overcome things. And I spoke, sorry, my nephew is here as we speak.
Oh
Hear
yeah,
that in the background. He is
ready
just
to
so
jump in on the
happy.
podcast, right?
Yeah, he just wants to be
Yeah.
on. Yeah. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, it was a really cool event. And then I went to a Disability Pride Fest in Madison, which is the capital of
Mm,
Wisconsin. And then I did another book signing at a local community event too, and in an online order. So it's been
yeah.
received super well. I
Kind
was
of a
like,
whirlwind, it sounds like.
yeah, like it was like go 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 because I was like, I need to announce this. Like I waited long enough.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get everything ready, and it's not going to be perfect. Like I was trying to get the website. Like I made the website, the Shopify site, and everything, and like getting that ready, and then like
Mm.
marketing it, making the reels. Like it's cool because I know how to do all that, right? Like the design
But
stuff.
it still takes time.
Like,
I mean, it's still,
yeah, it
yeah.
still takes time but it's so worth it. But it is a risk, right? Like I put in 60 hours, 30
Mhm.
hours to write it and then marketing and the website, like, and that's unpaid, like just because I care, because I want to
Yep. That's
something
right.
that I believe in what it can do for people. And then just investing in the books and the Shopify site too. Like an investment. And most people wouldn't take that risk. And I was like, this is the biggest business venture I've ever done. Cause it's like there's
Yeah.
that like more involved in it. Like with my design business, like I just, did the projects as they came, but like this was a lot of upfront work being like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And
Yeah.
thankfully I have a lot of supportive people in my community, friends, family, and they're super receptive of it and loved it. And so many people can't wait to read the book. And I've had many orders and yeah, sold many books. So I'm really thankful and blessed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exciting to see kind of see it take off and see what the public response is and, kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Mhm.
pretty exciting to get something published and out there like that. So
Yeah, and if
I'm
people
happy
want
you
to
guys
get
have
the,
that.
thank you. If people want to get the book, just go to Annie, the word Annie, and then hyphen
Okay.
dash, like the straight line, and then speaks.com. So
Okay.
speaks.com.
As far as people that want to connect, like just, I mean, obviously to read the book or just in general, like is
Yeah.
Instagram kind of the starting point or where do you like
Yeah,
to?
Instagram is my main place.
Okay.
So just my name and at Annie Heathcote, and then I do have a Annie Speaks Facebook page. It's just profile picture, but it's like AnnieHspeaks.com, like after Facebook. And so you can follow both those pages. And then if you want to
Yeah.
get in touch, my email is hello@annie-speaks.com.
That sounds good. I'll definitely include that in the caption and everything.
Thank you.
But it's been really great, Annie. I wanted to kind of close out on is there an activity or a hobby that you use kind of to get away, maybe when you have burnout, like to kind of rejuvenate yourself and relax?
I really like to paint my fingernails. I've been
Nice.
doing that since seventh grade, and I do these like intricate designs
Mm,
for like holidays or different events. And just I use like I have over 100 bottles of nail polish now because people like gift me that, and they know I do
hmm
nails and I buy stuff too. And I just like use cardboard, put a drop of nail polish, use a toothpick, and I come up with these like elaborate designs. And it's like fun,
Yeah,
like, kind of little canvases, and it's cool because then you take that with you, like the art with you as you go, and it's kind of like the exhibit.
yeah,
People get to see my work of art, which is my nails, and it's just kind of a fun interaction. Like people are like, "Well, who did your nails?" I'm like, "I did."
I
Like I,
did. Yeah, yeah.
I'm weak, but I have really good fine motor skills.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I'm curious physically, like, has it changed? Have you had to adapt any part of it to do it over
Yeah, I mean,
time?
it's gotten harder. Like one of my hands, I can't turn over
Okay,
flat to paint it a different way. And I'm ambidextrous, so I can paint and write with both hands. And I actually taught
that
myself.
helps.
Yeah,
That helps a lot.
because I knew I'd get tired, so I adapted, right? And I said,
Hmm
well, I better learn how to write with my left hand too, and better
Yeah,
learn to paint with my left hand. And so yeah, it's really cool to be able to do that.
yeah. Did you have like or do you envision at some point needing like a longer brush or anything like that? If
Oh,
it's,
yeah, like I have different brushes and lengths and things like
yeah,
that.
okay. So you're already
But
kind of,
it's kind of like me time too, where I just like put on a movie, usually a
yeah,
dramatic one where I don't want to look at the screen the whole
uh,
time,
yeah.
or like a
Just
scary
something in the
one.
background maybe, or,
Yeah, like I enjoy the movie, but I obviously have to like look at my nails
oh,
painting.
you have to multitask a little. Yeah,
Yeah, it takes
yeah,
about 3 hours, but it's just I do it like
yeah.
a month or less now,
Well,
and
I mean, you need those kind of activities at
yeah,
least here and there to try to,
right. It's hard for me to
escape.
take a break. I feel guilty, right? That work-life balance, I'm still figuring it out.
True, right? I mean, that's figuring out that's what we do, I think. So, but no, I sure appreciate it, Annie, and looking forward to, sharing the conversation with everybody and yeah,
Yeah.
seeing how the book does.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, and it's a pleasure to share these insights and advocate for disability in this way. So thank you so
Hmm
much for what you do
Absolutely. Well,
and
sure
now
appreciate it.
you're spreading.